I never imagined I'd be the guy caught up in one of those outrageous HOA stories. But here we are. I've lived in Sycamore Estates for almost 7 years. It's a quiet, well-kept neighborhood. The kind of place where people wave from across the street and lawn mowers hum on Saturday mornings. Like many communities, we have a homeowners association. When I first moved in, the rules were straightforward. Keep your lawn tidy, avoid flashy decorations, and maintain a decent curb appeal. Nothing unreasonable. Then everything changed when Patricia Wilkins, now more famously known around here as Karen, was elected HOA president last year. From day one, Patricia treated the role like she'd been crowned queen. She wasn't just enforcing HOA rules. She was writing her own. You'd see her cruising the neighborhood in her spotless white Lexus SUV, notepad in hand, inspecting properties like a code enforcement officer on steroids. I managed to stay off her radar for a while. That is, until I decided to install a beautiful in-ground pool in my backyard. I did everything by the book, submitted detailed plans, received approval from the architectural committee, got city permits, and hired licensed contractors. The pool was finished last month, just in time for summer. To celebrate, I invited a few co-workers over for a laid-back Saturday barbecue. Nothing crazy, just 6 adults, some burgers on a grill, and occasional dips in the pool. Around 4 p.m., I spotted Patricia standing at the edge of my yard, snapping pictures with her phone. I waved, but she just glared and turned away. 3 days later, I received a formal HOA violation notice in the mail. According to Patricia, my pool was an unauthorized water feature that exceeded the allowable dimensions under Covenant Section 12.4. It was ridiculous. I had official written approval from the previous board. I called Patricia to clear things up. She didn't even try to have a real conversation. The previous board was far too lenient, she told me with a smug tone. I reviewed your application and determined that the pool is 5 inches deeper than allowed. You'll need to modify it or face a $50 daily fine. Modify an in-ground pool? That's not like adjusting a fence post. It would cost me thousands. I tried to reason with her, pointing out that my dimensions were pre-approved. Her response? Rules are rules. You have 14 days to comply. And then she hung up. I reached out to other board members, who confirmed that the pool was indeed approved and agreed Patricia was overstepping. They said they'd address it at the next HOA meeting the following week. I thought that would settle things. I couldn't have been more wrong. The very next day, I left for a 3-day business trip. Before I left, I double-checked everything. Doors locked, light set, security system armed. Cameras on. When I got home late Thursday night, I was too exhausted to do much more than crash into bed. The shock came Friday morning. I stepped out into my backyard, coffee in hand, and stopped cold. The pool was empty, completely drained. At first, I assumed it was a mechanical problem. A leak, maybe? But when I inspected the pump room, I found something worse. Someone had tampered with the system. It had been manually drained. That's when I remembered the cameras. I opened the app on my phone, rewound the footage, and there she was, Patricia, on my property, in broad daylight. There she was, broad daylight, walking into my backyard with a pool maintenance crew in tow. The footage was clear. Patricia was giving them instructions, pointing at the pump system as they hooked up their equipment. The timestamp? Wednesday afternoon, just 1 day after I left town for my business trip. I was furious. This wasn't just another case of HOA overreach. This was straight-up criminal trespassing and possibly vandalism. Not only was draining the pool expensive, but doing it improperly could cause real structural damage. I called Patricia right away. "Oh, you're back," she said casually, like I had just returned from a vacation, and not to a vandalized pool. "Since you refused to address the violation, the board took action on your behalf." "The board? Or just you, Patricia?" I asked, trying hard to stay calm, because I spoke with 2 board members, both of whom said my pool was fully approved and compliant. "Well, they were mistaken," she snapped. "As HOA president, I have emergency authority to address violations that may affect community property values." You trespass on my property and potentially damage a $40,000 installation. I replied flatly. I have it all on camera. This isn't just an HOA issue anymore. It's a criminal one. She actually laughed at that. Good luck with that approach, she said, voice full of arrogance. The HOA bylaws give us the right of access for remediation. Maybe you should have read the fine print before moving into a covenant control community. Click. She hung up. I didn't waste another second. I called the police non-emergency line, explained the situation, and they sent an officer over to take my statement. Officer Rodriguez was courteous, but initially seemed unsure whether it was a criminal matter. That changed quickly once I showed him the video and the official documents proving my pool had full approval. This isn't a civil issue, he said firmly after reviewing the evidence. This is criminal trespassing and potentially vandalism. The HOA might have limited rights of access for certain emergencies or maintenance, but draining someone's pool without a legal basis? That's not one of them. While Officer Rodriguez was still at my place, I got a text from my neighbor Thomas. He's one of the HOA board members. He was stunned when I told him what had happened. A few minutes later, he forwarded me an email thread that made everything crystal clear. Not only had there been no vote authorizing any action against my pool, but Patricia had been explicitly told by the HOA's lawyer to drop the issue. My installation had been properly approved and documented. Patricia had ignored legal advice and acted entirely on her own. Officer Rodriguez suggested I apply for a temporary restraining order while the case was under investigation. He also advised me to document all damages and expenses. Before he left, he said something that gave me a bit of satisfaction. We'll be paying Ms. Wilkins a visit tonight to hear her side, but based on what I've seen, she's likely facing serious charges. I spent the rest of the day gathering repair estimates and checking the system. Refilling the pool alone would cost over $2,000. Thankfully, the pool techs didn't find any immediate structural issues, but they couldn't be sure until the system ran continuously for 48 hours. Around 6 p.m., I got a call from a block number. It was Patricia. Her tone, a lot less confident. I understand the police came by today, she began, her voice noticeably shaky. I just want to clarify, there's been a misunderstanding. The board did authorize remediation regarding the non-compliant water fee. I didn't let her finish. Interesting. I replied calmly, keeping my voice steady, because I have an email from the HOA's attorney, dated last week, that specifically instructs you not to take any action against my pool. And Thomas confirmed there was never a board vote. So, Patricia, the meeting minutes you're referring to, are they real? Or did you fabricate them after the police showed up at your door? There was a long silence. Then Patricia's voice returned, but it was different, softer, less confident. Look, she said, tone suddenly conciliatory, maybe we can handle this privately. The HOA can cover the cost of refilling your pool. Let's just move past this unpleasantness. But I wasn't having it. I'm afraid it's too late for that. I told her, this isn't about money anymore. It's about you abusing your authority, violating my property rights, and breaking the law. The police have everything they need now. It's out of my hands. 2 hours later, I got a call from Thomas. The news spread to the neighborhood like wildfire. Patricia Wilkins had been arrested at her home on 3 charges: criminal trespassing, property vandalism, and falsifying HOA documents. As it turned out, she had fabricated the meeting minutes after the police started their investigation. She was released on bail the next morning, but had to surrender her key to the HOA office. She was also officially suspended from any leadership role while under investigation. Later that day, I received a formal letter from the remaining HOA board members. They had held an emergency session and voted unanimously to remove Patricia from her position as president, effective immediately. They also offered a written apology, confirmed they would cover all costs for restoring the pool, and assured me changes were being made to prevent anything like this from happening again. But it didn't end there. The following Monday, I received a call from the district attorney's office. The prosecutor informed me that based on the video, documents, and witness testimony, they were pursuing felony charges. The estimated cost of damages and restoration had exceeded the state's $10,000 threshold for felony vandalism. On top of that, forging official HOA documents qualified as fraud. When this news broke, Patricia's employer, a real estate brokerage where she was a senior agent, placed her on indefinite leave. Apparently, having an agent under felony investigation for property-related crimes didn't sit well with their corporate image. About a week later, I ran into Patricia at the local grocery store. Gone was a smug, self-assured woman who once barked HOA orders like they were law. She looked worn down, pale, anxious, and jumpy when she spotted me in the frozen food aisle, her face flushed with a mix of embarrassment and anger. "Are you happy now?" she hissed, gripping her half-filled basket with trembling hands. "My career is ruined. I'm facing criminal charges. My reputation in this neighborhood is destroyed, all because of a stupid pool that was 5 inches too deep." I met her eyes and replied quietly but firmly, "No, Patricia, it wasn't about the pool. It was about how you treated people, how you believed the rules were only for others, never for yourself. And now you're learning that some rules, especially the ones written into the law, apply to everyone, even HOA presidents." She stood frozen, mouth opening and closing like she wanted to say something but couldn't find the words. I turned and walked away. Last I heard, she's facing over $220,000 in legal fees and could serve time if convicted on all charges. Sometimes karma doesn't knock. It kicks the door down. And in this case, justice finally came for the HOA's most entitled Karen.